Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast. You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. So I am here today with Alicia, and she has her own podcast as well. She's a multi-talented lady, but we're going to be focusing today on her story, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and she's going to share with us her story and how that has led her into being a nutrition and health coach, and also developing a recipe book and publishing it. So thank you so much for being on the call with us today, Alicia.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Like she said, my name's Alicia Trotter, and I became a nurse back in 2005. And my passion for going into that route of medicine was just because I really wanted to help people. That's always been my passion. I love people, I like to take care of people, I like to help people. And after I graduated, had my first child. She had a lot of gut issues. I didn't know what it was. We weren't trained on any of that in nursing school. Not that any of that was connected to food, which is now I find very interesting. And then I had my second child. And after I had her, it just felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me she has food allergies, even though I was solely breastfeeding. So I asked the doctor, could we get her tested for food allergies? He acted like I was crazy, that we don't do that. And she had this little baby dose of the flu shot at 6 months old, and she exploded in hives, like not immediately. And I thought, what is happening here? And first of all, I want to encourage anybody listening to this. If you are a mom and you don't trust your gut instinct, that is the Holy Spirit telling you. You need to really trust your gut instinct because that is the little nudges of the Holy Spirit telling you. And I'll always trust mine, and I'll always encourage other moms, anybody that's my friend. I'm like, what does your gut tell you? That's what you need to start with. So I just kept breastfeeding her because I didn't really know like what to feed her because I just kept feeling like she has food allergies. So finally, when she was a year old, I said to him again, I really want to get her tested for food allergies. And he again acted like I was crazy. And then I said, well, if you don't refer me to someone, I'll just find someone myself. And so he did. He referred me to someone. We went, she got tested. She had like 6 food allergies, like dairy, like both parts of dairy, whey, casein, egg, yolk, and white, fish, shellfish. It was so many
Wow.
things. And I thought, what do you feed a kid with all these allergies? I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. So that's really where my passion with food and understanding the connection to it being part of healing the gut started. So my girls are 3 years apart. So my oldest one still suffered constipation. They kept telling me, give her all this Miralax, all this stuff, never working. So I was forced to start to read food labels to
Mm-hmm.
see what my child could have. And that really opened my eyes. It was like, whoa, what is in our food?
There's a
And this,
lot of stuff in our food.
keep in mind, this was in 2009. So this is a long time ago. And
Mhm.
also, the things we have at our fingertips today, like apps, ChatGPT, all these things were not available. The internet was even still hard to research anything from.
Mhm.
So my, going on Amazon trying to find a book, I found the tiniest little cookbook that a mom of food allergy child had written. And it had no pictures. It was black and white. It was very boring, but it was like my lifeline. And I lived by that book until I could figure out how to make everything possible at home so that she could eat safely. Because when I weaned her from breastfeeding, she lost so much weight and she was a 1-year old. And
Wow.
so I needed to like fatten her back up and
Mhm.
also make sure she was getting enough nutrients for her brain. And when we drastically changed our diet for her, that's when my oldest child who had the gut problems started being able to go to the bathroom. Her, mood issues started clearing up. And I thought, wow, why did nobody suggest that to me? It was always just, oh, Miralax, Miralax, Miralax. And so it really was intriguing to me. And so that started the whole path of let that food be that medicine.
Mhm.
We also started chiropractic care, and I left the nursing world, shifted our whole family's health towards preventative healthcare. And I learned that all diseases begin in the gut. And I really started focusing on that. Now I
Mhm.
was doing it like the super hard way, like everything I would hear and find out about, I would get it. And our kitchen counter looked like a pharmacy and it was really complicated and overwhelming. And, I didn't know how to simplify things. And then as the years go on and the kids get busier and they're doing extracurricular activities, and I said, oh my gosh, things have to get simpler. This is so complicated.
Yes.
And I myself was not feeling good because I was so busy taking care of them and making sure they were healthy. And then 6 years into all of this with them, I had a friend say, you need to try these supplements that are really simple because they focus on the issues that you have. You have hypoglycemia, mainly because I drank coffee all day and didn't eat. You have gut problems. Every time you eat, you're bloated or can't use the bathroom or you're dumping. And I couldn't sleep. And so when I started these supplements, I was like, can it really be 3 things like that simple? And so I gave it a try, and within 3 nights, I was sleeping. I was on the bathroom. I felt fantastic. 3 days.
Wow.
And, so then I was, sold for life on that one. But one thing that I do wanna point out, and I think you have a story like this too, is when your eyes get open to things, you might be the weirdo, but I encourage you to just trust the Holy Spirit telling you what to do, trust the process, and just know that our health is a continuous journey because things are going to change in your life, whether it's hormones, whether it's you get some kind of funky illness like I have all of a sudden. Things are constantly changing and our environment is changing and toxic, and we're getting older, and you have to know that wellness is a journey and a lifestyle. It's
Mhm.
never that you finish and you've arrived and you're done until you're
Mhm.
until you're dead.
I can so relate to what you're sharing, and I didn't realize how parallel our stories were because my girls had food allergies as well, and if they had any sugar, they would be sniffling, they would get sick with whatever the child illness was going around with all the other kids at the time, and they Karina, my oldest, could not have cheese. If she had cheese, then her eardrums would burst and she would run
Wow.
104 temperature within 24 hours. So, with your first child, you know how you introduce one new food at a time.
Mhm.
And the first time that she had a little slice of, the plastic wrapped cheese, she just had a little bit of it, then her ears went like that.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we were like, "Huh." And, she hadn't had anything else new because we were introducing one food at a time. So we waited 2 weeks, gave her a little bit of cheese again, and the exact same thing happened. 104 fever, eardrums burst. We're like, "Thank you, Lord, for showing us this because she could have been deaf, if we hadn't been able to figure out this is a food allergy." And I
Mhm.
asked her pediatrician about, the ear infections, and he was like, I said, "Could this be to milk?" And he was like, "Well, maybe." And he just totally wasn't open that my child could have a food allergy that was causing the issues. And the same thing ended up happening. My middle daughter did not have we just avoided cheese, but, what happened with her is I had been breastfeeding and then I gave her supplemented with formula. And when she had that formula, of course, it was milk base because this was in 98. My girls are a little bit older maybe than yours. So I can totally relate. There was no internet until 2000, right? Email didn't even start until the whole 2000 thing when they thought the world might end or blow up or something because of the turn of the century. So I'm having to like ask around and look in the yellow pages and try to figure out, is there a homeopath? Because that was what was recommended. My mom was seeing a homeopath and it had helped her with some of her health issues that nothing else had worked. So, yep, that's what it was. It was the milk, the formula. And so I started going to the health food store and buying all of our food. They had like a 10% off day, and we would load up in the van and go to the 45 minutes away, this one health food store that actually sold groceries, not just a few things, like vitamins, but they had food and they had whole food. And I would make their waffles with amaranth flour, and had to avoid wheat and yeast and milk and sugar, and they loved those waffles. That was one of their favorite things. But it was a lot of work to make
Mhm.
everything from scratch. And my girls really didn't fatten up because we were eating so clean, and that's ended up leading us to homeschool because the teacher, Karina, my oldest, got sick with scarlet fever. And the teacher acted like we weren't giving her any medicine, and we were. We were giving her homeopathy
Mhm.
instead of antibiotics because her gut could not handle being torn down anymore. And I didn't really know about gut health. I just knew if I gave them any antibiotics, they got sicker
Yeah.
instead of got better. And I didn't understand all the reasons why
Mhm.
until years later, but, that teacher and the school nurse, they acted like we weren't giving her any medicine, and so it was really a hard time to shift into, what my kids needed and the natural medicine, and just like with antibiotics, sometimes the doctor tries 2, 3. I mean, Julia had 4 rounds, and that ear infection from the formula would not clear up for her. And
Yeah.
that's when I asked him, "Do you think my middle daughter's allergic to milk?" And he was like, "Well, maybe." So that's when I really, at that point, that's when I started getting committed to, at that time, homeopathy years ago. And it helped. It worked. She never had an ear infection again until like she had a mild when Karina got scarlet fever.
Mm.
She got a mild ear infection and still didn't catch scarlet fever like Karina had from somebody at school. So
Wow.
it just shows the power. Natural medicine is powerful, and our
Mhm.
journey is ever evolving. Our bodies are changing. And so, what did you find that happened with y'all in your story? What happened with you?
I mean, definitely, my kids, we like I said, we were the weirdos, and with your teacher and school nurse saying that they wanna just act like you're doing something wrong if you're choosing a different way, and there's, more than one way. And I would always say, because I homeschooled my kids at first, and then they went into the public school system, and once my eyes got open to the ingredients in the vaccine, we just stopped all vaccinations. So I'm putting them in school and they're asking me for the vaccine record. And I'm in Tennessee. So in Tennessee, we have a religious exemption form, and
Mhm.
I submitted that. And then it was fine. We choose chiropractic care as our primary care. That's
Mhm.
what we do. And back when my oldest daughter was going into 7th grade, when they want to give him the Gardasil shot and all that, they had her so convinced at school that she was going to be kicked out of school because I wasn't giving her that shot.
Mm.
And I said, "Well, you've been in school all this time with a religious exemption form." And it's just that scare tactic and that fear mongering that I don't like, because like you said, you can go to the doctor say you have high blood pressure. Well, they're going to try you on this medicine. That's not working. Let's switch it. That's not working. Oh, well, let's add another medicine. Oh, that's
Mhm,
still not working. Let's add another one. It's still a game because everyone is uniquely made up, but they want to fit you into a box. So,
mhm.
like you and I were saying before we started recording, if you have your vitamin D3 levels checked, the normal range is 30 to 90. That's huge.
That's a huge range.
But if your level is 30 or 40 and you're so tired all the time, you need to supplement because really in the 75 to 85 range is where you're going to feel better. And
Okay.
your body might can't get there on its own because we're not all genetically made up the same. And
Right,
if
you were saying everybody can't even assimilate sunshine into D3
Mhm.
or into the vitamin D that they need, so they may even if they're going in the sunshine this time of year, you might need to supplement.
Yeah, I mean, that's me. I wouldn't have known I had that gene unless I was tested, and I did do a DNA test just for my own curiosity for everything,
Mhm,
and I found out I can't convert the sun into usable D3, and so I supplement, and that's what supplements are for. They are made to supplement and fill in the gaps,
mm,
and sadly, we live in a world where our food is not clean, it is not good, it is so many chemicals and it is making our body start to attack itself, and this is why we have all the autoimmune issues, all the gut issues, all the cancers, all the mood disorders, everything. And when you and I took action and
mhm,
actually started making everything from scratch for our family, it really set them up on a better foundation
mhm,
because we were curious as to what's happening and what can we do differently. And
mhm,
even though no one was telling us to start with your nutrition, we just knew something had to be different. And I'm like, I had to drive an hour to Nashville to go to the Whole Foods store,
mhm,
and I couldn't afford much of it because we were on a single income because I was homeschooling. And so
mhm,
it was really like pick and choose what we're going to do. And one
mhm,
thing I try to teach is if you're on a budget, all you have to do is make a plan and only get what's on the plan.
mm,
Stick to the plan.
mhm,
Your grocery budget can be cut down so much, especially today where we have the option to have your groceries delivered or you pick them up. And so you just click everything you need. You're
mhm,
not walking through that store and impulse buying anything extra.
mhm,
And so if you have a kid that's sick all the time, because I 100% agree with you about the sugar. I didn't mention that earlier, but that's how my kids were too. Like my mother-in-law felt like the best way to show her grandkids love was to give them all this junk every time they came over.
Well, I think grandparents were taught that because that's what their grandparents did, and, they were just taught, "Hey," giving 'em the philosophy was kids can eat whatever they want, and it won't hurt them, so they can have ice cream, cookies, cake, pies, Little Debbie snack cakes, all of that, and
All
because
the
they're
sodas,
kids. What is it?
all the sodas, I'm
All
like,
the sodas.
we were
Even Ritz
having
crackers, they have high
yeah.
fructose corn syrup in them, like, so many foods back when our kids were little had high fructose corn syrup. I'm glad they've started to shift a lot of that around and get it cleaner,
Mhm.
but you still have to watch for just sugar,
Yeah.
and so it's kinda like picking your devil some of the time if you're gonna buy things that somebody else made, a brand made instead of you made it. But I feel like society, a lot of the young moms with little kids now they're so much wiser and they have more options and staying committed to, either growing your own meat, growing your own vegetables, or co-oping that somehow. Um, I know one of my friends, even back in the day that we're coming from, she was in like a co-op, a food co-op, where they would order larger amounts and then it would get kind of dropped at this drop point and then they
Mhm.
would split up what they bought between the families so that it would come to their area and they would save money. I
Yep.
wasn't in on that. I found out later, and we had already been able to progress a lot. Um, my girls ended up doing something called NAET, and that's stands for the Indian doctor who God gave the wisdom to, Nabudripod, and it stands for Nabudripod's allergy elimination technique. And they were able to get allergy treatments through that. And it's not shots, it's like one cell is reprogrammed through a homeopathic vial they hold of it's like 13 or 16 vitamins mostly that a lot of people are allergic to.
Right.
It's not actually the food, it's like the proteins or
Mhm.
the vitamins that are in the food that their body cannot assimilate correctly. And so then their body starts attacking itself. And so that's before we knew about plexus. That's one thing that we did with our girls that really changed a lot of things for them, where they could eat more foods and not get sick. But it's interesting now that they're getting towards 30. They had those treatments when they were maybe 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And now, so it's been like 20 years ago, right? Getting close to that, 15 to 20. And we were told they wouldn't need to repeat those treatments, but we have had to repeat some of them. So I just love learning about alternatives that, people use to help their bodies heal, because there are so many options. We don't
Mhm.
have to do the mainstream way that we're programmed, like, this is it or there's
Right.
nothing else. I mean, even going to the doctor and having the doctor say, like, people don't get well from this. Um, yes, they do. I mean, you really can heal the body from pretty much anything. You just have to know what herb or what supplement, which usually is an herb that's been dehydrated and crushed up and put it in a capsule.
Mhm.
You just have to know which one goes with what you're working to heal. So I
Yes,
just,
and I 100% believe, I mean, God created our body to heal. He gave us so many things. Like, if you just would get curious about looking up, I have a friend and her son got really sick last week, and she called me and she was like, I don't know what to do. The things that she normally does for the natural antibiotic round of like the oil of oregano and the colloidal silver, she said, it's just not working. And I said, well, he must have been sick for longer than you knew. And so it's not working because we're probably like 10 days in. And so I've studied some herbs and things, and I said, go. We now where I live, we have a bulk natural food store, and they sell a lot of herbal things. And so I told her, I said, go there, get chamomile flower heads, and you can make a steam, breathe it in through his nose with the towel over his head, and it will heal the sinuses.
wow.
And then the mullein, a lot of people drink it as a tea, but if you inhale it as a steam, it will heal like lung problems.
What
So
is
he was
that called?
having mullein. It's
Mullen.
yeah, I think people pronounce it differently, but I can recognize it on the side of the road. Like, I'm like, there it is, right there.
Wow. How's it spelled?
I think it's Muellin.
Muellin. Okay. And it's an herb on the side of the road.
Literally, you can Google it to see what it looks like, and I guarantee you, when you start driving around, you're going to be like, "Oh, there it is, there it is."
And
And
that'll heal your sinuses,
that's the one for the lungs.
the
Mullein is for the
lungs.
lungs. Chamomile is for the sinuses.
Chamomile for the sinuses. Wow.
And then we use homeopathy too. So we kind of use a whole lot of different things. We focus on our food and our gut supplements for daily things of keeping
Right.
ourselves healthy. But
Preventative.
but then when you do catch something, which you're probably going to every now and then, your immune system needs to reboot ever so often. there are things that you can do that God gave us to heal the body and or promote the body to heal itself. And so
Yeah.
we love homeopathy. We love fresh or like freeze dried herbs because they'll last longer. And then you can just like bring them back to life in that steam.
Mhm.
And elderberry syrup. Oh, we got elderberry syrup all the time during flu season. And, even if you can't convert the sun, you don't have that gene and you have to supplement, still the sunshine is so good to be in for at least 10 minutes, a couple times a week if you can. There's just so many things like hydration that you can do to help yourself. And really, the thing about natural medicine is just it works best if you immediately start it when you don't feel well,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
And
don't let it go too long.
right. And then, there's a time and a place for Western medicine. I'm not dogging it and saying that we would never use it, but I'm just saying
Yeah, me too.
there's, there's a time and a place. And if you can give your body what it needs and let it heal itself,
Mhm.
you're going to feel so much better. And you're going to avoid things like a lot of people, when they take an antibiotic, end up with a yeast infection.
Mhm.
Or, they'll get like thrush in their mouth, or babies will get like a terrible diaper rash.
Mhm.
And there's just some negative side effects to that. And like you were saying, when you gave your kids that, it seemed to make them worse.
Mhm.
And I know my youngest, I don't think my oldest has ever had an ear infection, but my youngest, she got this spot on her arm and it looked like a boil to me. And of course, I was trying to pop it and I couldn't get it. So I did take her to the doctor and he said it was MRSA. So he wanted
Mhm.
to treat her with an antibiotic so it didn't get into her bloodstream. Well, she was like 4. She never had an antibiotic before. So I was like, okay, one time probably won't hurt her. That ended up causing her, it stripped all her good bacteria out of her body, and
Mm.
she got a horrible ear infection
Mhm.
from it. So I
Yep.
ended up, and so I wasn't going to put her on another antibiotic. So we did a heat and pad that night to get through the night. And then the next day I took her to the chiropractor. And when they adjusted her, it drained this amber color fluid out of her ear. And it was like, she was fine.
Wow.
Yeah. I think she only had one other antibiotic since then. She's 17 now. I think she only had 2
Mm.
antibiotics in her life.
Mhm. Most of the time, there's something else you can do that I like. Do you make gout? You know,
Mhm. Yes.
where
We
it's the
used to use that a
garlic,
long time ago. Yeah, the
olive
garlic, the olive
oil,
oil.
coconut oil, and you just barely meld it together and strain the garlic out, and then you can put that as ear drops, and instantly the inflammation will go down, and within just usually less than 5 minutes, the pain is gone. I've had
Yes.
adults come lay on my couch and say, "Put some good in my ear."
No, it's also good for respiratory too. You can rub it on the chest and the bottoms of the feet.
And the bottoms of the feet. The quickest way to get in the bloodstream is the bottoms of your feet.
Yes. And
So
so
tell us more about what happened to you later.
so like I said earlier, health is always a journey because everything is always changing. You might get like super stressed out. You might have to, have take care of some people in your life. You might have a move, like anything really. But for me, because I live in the middle of 30 acres in the woods, I got bit by a tick and it took about 2 months. And I think the reason it took longer for me to get sick from it, and the reason I don't get as sick as some people, is because I had a very good, strong immune system because I've been targeting my gut health for 9 years.
Mhm.
And so I ended up getting what's called alpha gal syndrome. So when you get bit by the Lone Star tick, which I'm pretty sure mine was the baby Lone Star tick because I never saw it was a little bitty tiny tick that bit me and I never saw a white dot on its back. It took me about 2 months and then all of a sudden one day I ate bacon for breakfast, got sick within 10 minutes. The next day I did the same thing again, got sick again. I thought, am I trying to get like a stomach bug? I've probably not had a stomach bug in like 16 years.
Mhm.
And then later that day when I felt better, I was running errands and I was hungry, so I ate a Chomp's beef stick. And when I ate the beef and it also made me sick, I immediately knew what it was because I was already familiar with alpha gal because there's so many people in our town that have it.
Mm.
And so I was really familiar with what it was. And then when I just ate that beef stick, I said, "Oh no."
Oh,
So
no.
I had a lot of traveling things I was doing. And it was the holidays. I didn't make time to go to the doctor right away. I just ate like I had it. I just eliminated all beef and pork. Well, I didn't realize there's more to it. So when I
Mm.
went to get tested, he also asked me how I do with dairy. Now, at the time, I was getting, you talked about like co-ops and things like that. I was
Mhm.
getting raw dairy
Mhm.
from actually Amber. She lives
Mhm.
an hour away, but she was bringing her milk and I was part of her herd share member. And so I was using her raw dairy and making my own yogurt, making my own mozzarella cheese. And so I wasn't reacting to that because
Okay.
of the whole process and the way I was doing it. But I had some whey protein powder that I had mixed in with the milk. And I had this reaction that I didn't realize was anaphylaxis, but my eyes started itching and looking like I had bug bites, and then they started swelling up. That's actually an anaphylactic reaction. I had no idea.
Wow.
And I started wheezing and coughing, which I knew that was getting to my airway. And so when he asked me, how do you do with dairy? I was like, I didn't want to say. I was like, well, and then he was like, well, because dairy is a byproduct of a four-legged mammal, you need to eliminate all dairy so that you can heal. Because I saw an allergy doctor and he believes in the body's ability to heal itself. And so he's like, what he's seen in his 20 years of practice, and he was my youngest daughter's allergen back then, and she's outgrown all of her allergies. So I really trust him. And he said, nothing meat wise, unless it swims or flies. So, like, he said, no rabbit, no squirrel. I said, you ain't got to worry about that. I'm not going to eat that. He said, no deer, no pig, no cow, nothing. Goat, lamb, nothing that stands on four legs and is a mammal. You cannot eat it or byproducts. So that eliminated dairy. Like feta is from a sheep, goat's cheese, like nothing. I can't have any of that. And so again, I felt like, wow, what am I going to eat? Because I also have celiac. And so I'm gluten free and I have been for about 14 years. So I really just felt like the Lord was saying, remember that cookbook that like saved your life whenever your baby had all those food allergies? You need to write a cookbook for
Mhm.
people to have a tool whenever they feel like, what now?
Yeah, especially since you knew a lot of people have alpha gal. It wasn't just you. Like, I wouldn't have known because I don't know a lot of people that have that. But since it runs in your region, you were already exposed to, like, hey, this is something people need.
And also, we're in a time frame of the world where everybody's so busy and they eat out a lot.
Hmm.
And when you get this, you literally cannot eat out because you'll get cross contamination so easily. And the way to get over it is total avoidance. So you stop giving the body something to react to. And then it forgets that it's supposed to have this histamine response. So in like a couple of years, if you've not had any exposure to it, even through cross contamination, and you go get tested, you're probably going to be negative. And then you're slowly going to introduce it just to make sure that you're not having any reactions. But it's just where the body heals itself and forgets that it should be having this reaction to it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take every recipe that's our favorite and I'm going to try to make it dairy free, mammal free. And then, of course, it was already gluten free. So the whole cookbook is gluten free, dairy free, alpha gal safe. However, you could use beef if you are not allergic. You could use cheese if you're not allergic. You could use wheat if you're not allergic. But what I noticed in myself when I ate like that, within 60 days, inflammation completely decreased. And I thought, well, this is probably a really good thing for anybody that struggles with inflammation because diseases love an inflamed environment. So if you're really trying to decrease inflammation and you're using supplementation to do that, if you add the diet that goes with it, you're really going to see some good
Mhm.
results. And so it's in publication right now. So I signed with the publication company and it should be out the 1st of November. So
Oh, that's gonna be perfect for the
I
holidays.
know. I'm excited.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited. What is the name of your cookbook?
So just like my podcast is a play on words because my last name is Trotter and it's trotting through life. I like a play on words. So my cookbook is called I'm Your Alpha Gal.
I'm
So
your alpha gal.
I'm like, I
That's cute.
get it. I get it. Come into my kitchen. Let me help you. And so in the beginning, I have my story and then I have what alpha gal is in case if people don't know. Because one thing about alpha gal is about 70% of practitioners do not know what it is. So when they
Wow.
get a patient that comes in and they're sick, and everybody's reaction is kind of different. Some people just have these chronic hives that they can't get rid of. Other people are having GI issues, but most people don't react for 5 to 6 hours. So it's really hard to make this connection. But for me, I was reacting in like 10 minutes. So I knew exactly what it was. And
Mhm.
so I have in there my story, what it is. And then I have a grocery list. And then I have 2 weeks of meal plans. So I did all the work for you. Here's the
Mhm.
recipe that correlates with the meal plans. And here's your grocery list. You literally don't have to even set foot in the grocery store. Just get on your app. And every recipe, I'll do a pro tip and I'll say, like, this is the kind of dairy free cheese that I like that actually melts, that doesn't have crappy seed oils in it. And this is where I found it.
Mhm.
And I just try to make it like so easy because I want this to be a tool that is so valuable for people when they first get diagnosed. And that's when
Mhm.
it's the most overwhelming and you just don't know what to do.
Yeah, and, like, we understand the feeling when our kids were sick and we were making all their food from scratch so they could eat and not be sick. It is like, where do I find this? Where do I go? Is there like, back then it was, is there such a thing? And if you
Mhm.
have not been in that world of alternative food really, which is whole food that's not been meddled with so
Right.
much and isn't full of all of these chemicals and processed ingredients. Um, and really and truly, there's nothing wrong with if it was clean processing. Canned food from the garden, y my, uh, old book calls it processing.
Yeah.
So there's not anything wrong with clean processed
Right.
food because when you can it from the garden, you just processed it in your food canner. But you know what our world means by that now is all these chemicals have been added that our
Mhm.
body doesn't know what to do with that and sees it as a foreign enemy, really. And over time, it'll either just store it in your cells because it doesn't, it's like trying to put it away and mask it off. So it puts it in your liver, it puts it in your cells, then that causes inflammation because it's trying to protect you.
Mhm.
So learning how to eat clean and find foods that in a simple way, and I think that's what I'm excited about with your cookbook is you've taken a lot of the guesswork out, given the pro tips, taught us where to shop, made the
Yes.
grocery list, made the meal plan, and it's gonna be clean. Even if you don't have alpha-gal, it's gonna be really, really clean, yummy
Yeah.
recipes that, are gonna let your body, like, basically have the environment to heal itself from, at the least, inflammation too, as
Right.
well as alpha-gal.
And I want everything to taste good because I'm a foodie. So when I got this, my feelings were really hurt because I'd just gotten back from Italy and eaten all the good foods. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But if you cook with like fresh herbs and good spices, and you can get things to be good and flavorful and the texture to be similar to what you used to eat, like in lasagna, for example. You just want it to have all that good flavor and the basil and the garlic and the oregano and then have the right texture, not have
Texture.
gluten-free noodles that taste like cardboard, which is how it was 14 years
Or be
ago.
mushy.
Yeah, so everything has come so much leaps and bounds now. Like, yes, we have a lot more chemicals in our food, but we also have a lot more options for dairy-free, gluten-free that we didn't used to have. And you can still do like you could do a lasagna and use thinly sliced zucchini for noodles, if you wanted to get extra vegetables in there. And that's the other thing too. People are like, "Oh my gosh, what do you eat?" And I'm like, "Well, I can eat all the fruits and vegetables that I want," which is a good thing. We need to
Mhm.
go back to that maybe. And, I like you were saying, the canning. I mean, we have a family here in our town that has been farmers for generations, and they have a little store that you can go buy their produce from. And I just went and got 60 pounds of tomatoes, and I spent 2 days canning marinara sauce, doing juice, and doing diced tomatoes because that's really the best. Like, if you're gonna have stuff through the winter when you can't get the fresh in season stuff, the best way is either freeze it or can it so that you can eat like that all year long.
Mhm. Mhm. What about Italy? Did they have gluten-free there for you?
They did. They actually did have gluten-free. I was surprised. I did try to eat some things that weren't gluten-free just to see what would happen.
Mhm.
And I would not recommend this to people that have celiac, but because I have worked 9 years on my gut health,
Mhm.
I feel like I was able to eat little bits, not
Mhm.
like a whole pizza or anything like that, but little bits and try like a couple bites of pasta or a couple bites of pizza, and I didn't have any issues.
That's good.
Um, Also the way they process their wheat over there, the ingredients are like 2 ingredients on the
Wow.
pasta. And
And
so
they have probably a lot more enzymes. That's really a lot of our issue here in America is our stuff has been bleached and the enzymes are all taken out. So then we eat this, bleach processed flour and our body's like, "Wait, where's the other stuff that we were going to use to help you digest this?"
yeah, we can't break this down, we don't know
Uh,
how. Yeah, and I
we're
think
missing some things.
that's exactly right, and especially if you don't have a gallbladder and you're eating things like pizza and you're, like, running to the bathroom, your gallbladder is how you process fat.
Mm,
So, if you are having issues with that, you really need to focus on the gut health because the liver is trying to do the job of the gallbladder too.
okay.
That's not what it's created for. And so, like a lot of good liver support, whether it's from our Restore, that's a
Mhm.
really good one. Or, there's like a supplement you can get. It's called Bitters.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
have it.
yeah, and you can take that, and it really helps. And then
Increases
our
your stomach acid.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I have horrible acid reflux." I'm like, "Don't suppress it because that's what its job."
Mhm,
And so when we take all the antacids and we suppress it, then the body wants to make even more. It's really probably an anatomical issue where
mhm.
inflammation has made the flap of the stomach not be able to seal and close like it should to keep the acid in the stomach where we need it to digest our food.
Right.
Um, so that's another topic for another day, but
Yeah, there's reasons why that we just need more education so
Mhm.
that we know what's actually happening. And even like baking soda water, because
Yeah.
that oxygenates your blood, it'll help alkalize your
Yep.
body. And so, a lot of times, when people have indigestion or heartburn, if they'll try the baking soda water, then boom, it's gone. It's like,
Yeah, because we
wow.
have a very acidic environment, especially if we're someone that likes sugar and likes sodas, because that
Mhm,
really gets the pH of the intestinal tract, the GI system to be too acidic. And then, like, doing that baking soda water kind of neutralizes and calms everything down. And I mean, it does gets our body back to closest to the way it should be, but it's definitely a lot of just the standard American diet, which spells sad,
mhm,
and the way that you'll hear older people say, "Well, I've eaten this up my whole life and didn't have a problem." Well, it also didn't have 35 ingredients in it back then. It probably had, like,
Even the fast
5.
food has changed. Somebody was talking about how even McDonald's hamburger used to be just beef, and
Mhm.
then now if you saw all the stuff that comprises the patty, you wouldn't eat it.
No. Never.
It's
Never in a
not
dream.
just hamburger, it's not just beef. So even, the foods that you used to could eat, 40, 50 years ago have changed a lot, and,
Yeah.
they've done that to save money, to make it taste better, to make you kinda be addicted to it so that you'll come
Mhm.
back and crave it and wanna come back soon and get more or order bigger when
Yep.
'cause your body remembers how good that was last time because of that chemical hit
Mhm.
that it got from these added ingredients that they put in there to make you almost, like, addicted to it.
Right.
So, yep. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story and about your cookbook I'm excited for it to come out as a solution for us to make it easy to eat healthy, to let our bodies just heal itself and, have a break from all of these things that challenge it so much.
Yes, yes.
Be sure to check out Alicia's podcast, Trotting Through Life, and I will post a link to that as well as how to connect with her more in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here and listening today, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe button.
Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your significance.